It was her birthday, and I had spent the entire week planning something special, a quiet dinner at a restaurant she loved but hadn't visited in years. The table was reserved, the candles set, the atmosphere perfect. On the surface, everything seemed normal, festive even, but beneath the celebration, I had been piecing together a web of subtle clues over the past weeks. A lipstick stain on her scarf, a credit card charge at a boutique she never mentioned, small receipts tucked into her bag, unexplained late work excuses, and fleeting whispers of conversations I hadn't been meant to hear. Even her phone behavior had shifted, notifications silenced, calls answered privately, a new passcode that hadn't been there before. The perfume she wore tonight was different, layered, unfamiliar, the scent lingering in the air as she smiled, oblivious to the pattern I had slowly uncovered. I had observed, noted, and waited. Everything about tonight had been orchestrated, down to the choice of the restaurant, the timing, and the quiet corners where no one else could interrupt. It wasn't just a birthday dinner, it was the stage for unveiling a truth she couldn't hide from any longer. As we drove toward the restaurant, the city lights reflected off her eyes. Unaware of the careful orchestration behind each gesture, each reservation, each planned detail. Tonight, every piece I had gathered, the receipts, the perfume, the small lies, would come together in a way she could no longer deny. Before we continue, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the full story. If you've ever suspected betrayal or been curious about how the truth unfolds, you'll want to see what happens next. The restaurant was quiet. Just us, the flicker of candles casting shadows across the table. She laughed, unaware, sipping her wine, complimenting the decor, the food, the evening. But I noticed the little things, the nervous glances at her phone, the way her fingers fidgeted with the napkin, the half-formed excuses in her tone whenever I asked about her day. I had prepared for this. Over the past few weeks, I had collected evidence, small, seemingly insignificant details that, when combined, told a story she could no longer hide. A receipt from a hotel lobby cafe tucked into her purse, text notifications quickly deleted, a friend who mentioned seeing her out at odd hours. Each clue built on the next, forming a pattern I could not ignore. I let the conversation flow, asking casual questions about work, her friends, her routines. She answered smoothly, but there was a hesitancy, a slight tightening around her eyes. I could feel the tension building, subtle, almost imperceptible, like the calm before a storm. As dessert arrived, I slid a small envelope across the table, not a note, just photographs and receipts, the silent proof she had tried to keep hidden. Her hand froze mid-laugh. The mask faltered. I didn't speak, I let the evidence speak for itself. Around us, the restaurant buzzed with life, unaware of the quiet confrontation unfolding at our corner table. Tonight wasn't about shouting or dramatic accusations. It was about unveiling a truth orchestrated piece by piece, meticulously, until there was no room left for lies. She stared at the envelope, her fingers trembling slightly as she lifted the photographs. Receipts, messages, hidden meetings, all laid bare in black and white. I didn't say a word. There was no need. The evidence spoke louder than any argument ever could. Her eyes flicked up to mine, wide with a mix of shock, fear, and guilt. She opened her mouth, paused, swallowed, then tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. Every excuse she had rehearsed over the past weeks, every lie I had quietly documented, collapsed under the weight of undeniable proof. I reached for my wine glass, taking a slow sip, letting the silence fill the space between us. Around us, the restaurant continued its quiet rhythm, clinking cutlery, muted chatter, the flicker of candlelight, unaware of the life-altering moment at our table. I had planned this night meticulously, not for revenge, not for spectacle, but for clarity. She needed to see the consequences of her actions, and I needed to witness the truth fully revealed before deciding my next step. Finally, I slid the envelope back toward her. No explanations, no threats, just the facts. I had already made my choice. This wasn't about confrontation. It was about dignity, about reclaiming control over a life that had been quietly undermined. I would leave, silently, and let the evidence speak for itself. Tonight marked the end of an era, carefully orchestrated, undeniable, and final. I didn't speak. I let the envelope sit between us on the table, the photographs and receipts speaking louder than any words could. Her eyes widened as she took it in, the mask she wore for weeks finally cracking. She tried to form a sentence, but nothing came out. Her hands shook as she picked up the envelope again, as if trying to push the truth back inside. I stayed still, calm, letting her confront the evidence on her own. Finally she stood. The chair scraped softly against the floor, but she didn't turn to me. Without a word she walked toward the door. The sound of her footsteps echoed in the quiet apartment, each one heavier than the last. I watched as she paused, hand on the doorknob, a mixture of guilt and disbelief in her eyes, before finally stepping out. The door closed behind her with a definitive click. Silence filled the room. For a moment I simply listened, the absence of her presence louder than any argument, any shouting match could ever have been. She had left, and in leaving, she carried with her the consequences of every lie, every hidden action, every choice that had led to this night. I exhaled slowly, feeling the weight lift from my chest. The orchestrated birthday dinner had served its purpose. I didn't need confrontation or explanation. Her departure was the proof that truth, when unveiled carefully and decisively, could speak for itself. Months after that night the calls started, not from her, but from others. Her mother called first, her voice trembling, begging me to reconsider, to meet to talk things out. Then came friends, distant relatives, even neighbors, each carrying messages she wanted me to hear, pleading for forgiveness, reconciliation, or at least a chance to explain. Every call ended the same way, calm, measured, deliberate. I told them, my lawyer will handle any communication. I have nothing more to say. The pattern continued for weeks. Small notes delivered through acquaintances, flowers sent to my door, even her friends trying to sway me with explanations and excuses. Each attempt was carefully recorded and left unanswered, a silent testament to the choice I had made: dignity over drama, truth over manipulation. Over time the calls stopped, the notes faded, the flowers no longer appeared. Life moved on, peacefully, steadily. I built a life untainted by her mistakes. A life where trust, love, and respect were earned and reciprocated. The past remained a shadow, present only in memory, but never again a chain. And in that silence I realized the truth. Some lessons are learned only when consequences are undeniable, and some closures are never earned. They are claimed by the one who chooses to walk away with self-respect.